Well, it was going to be a decisive day, day four, on how this test match and this series goes on. A collapse from India would have put Australia on top, but it wasn't to be. It was a marathon effort with the bat from India, which gives them a lead in the first innings, which you could say puts them as the only team that cannot lose this test match, as the Border Gavaskar Trophy will go into the final day of the series. Virat Kohli, a memorable day for him. A long wait has come to an end in Test cricket over 3 years and 3 months. It's 100 he'll remember for a long time for a number of reasons. We look back at day four's play on ESPN Cricket for Match Day with Shaun Tait and Wasim Jaffer. We must start with Virat Kohli. It's the story of the day, Wasim. We knew that there are so many more runs in Kohli, but he had to get that Test 100 off his shoulder. It felt like a huge relief when he got there. Your thoughts on Kohli's 100, which has put India in a position of, you could say, a non-defeat, if I could call it that, after today.
Yeah, it's been a masterclass, Raunak. There's no doubt about it. He must be happy to be playing on a surface like this. The last three Test matches were absolute turners. No batters, could score 100 other than Rohit Sharma. But he must have been relieved to see this kind of pitch, and then he applied himself. He grinded it out. It wasn't easy. So a lot of credit to him. It goes on to show that he's got all the tools. Whichever format he plays, he molded himself to that format, and then this test match needed an innings like that because India didn't want to lose this test match. If India had lost wickets, Australia would have got the upper hand. So he grinded it out. There was a period where he didn't get boundaries, and he just stuck to the task and then played a memorable inning. He could have got double 100 had Shreyas been around. But what a knock, he needed that. He got 100 in the one days, he got 100 in the T20. This was missing. Absolute pleasure to watch him bat like that. It goes on to show a lot of youngsters also that a player like Virat Kohli can get out of form for extended period of 2 or 3 years. But if you keep your work ethic going, if you keep working hard and the process is right, you do come back. And when you come back strong like this. So absolute pleasure to watch Virat Kohli bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fair to say this is the best batting surface we've had, Shaun Tait, in the entire series. But I remember seeing something on day one or day two on social media, which was, if Kohli doesn't get his 100 on this surface, then he's never going to get it. It almost is like when you're Virat Kohli, the pressure is so much more, isn't it? You see a flat start to the game and you think, surely Kohli's going to get the 100 now. And it wasn't only the 100. He had to bat long. Australia had so many runs. I'm just trying to think of whether this surface and these conditions put even more pressure on Kohli to play the long innings that he did.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you're right. Absolutely. I think all of that stuff. And I think a lot's going to be spoken about his individual need to get 100 after 3 years or whatever it's been, and about himself. But I feel like the whole time watching him he was just batting for India. He's saved India from any sort of defeat. And you could almost see it in his face that he was batting for his country type thing. I know that sounds deep or it sounds a bit cliche, but it's true. I think the way he applied himself to the cause, I suppose, to make sure India were not going to lose this test match. Obviously, there is the individual side of it, but I think more so completely for the team and just setting another great example for the teammates around him.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very fair point. Wasim, I'd love for your thoughts as a batter. If you are like a Virat Kohli, who's flamboyant, who plays shots, this could rank up there amongst his slowest hundreds. There was a period of play for nearly 150 balls where Kohli didn't score a boundary. When he got to his 100, he had just 5 fours. Then, of course, as the game went deeper on day 4, you could say he got more free-flowing. But what does that tell you about a Virat Kohli who had to really grind his way? And what sort of impressions do you get as a batter? What he would have been going through at a time where he wasn't getting boundaries, but he just hung in there.
Well, I think he knew, Raunak, that he needed to bat time because India need to get close to that 480 target that Australia had got in the first inning. So, India needed to bat time. India could only make a test match if India came close to that target or take a lead like they've done now. So it could only happen that, and Virat knew that, so there was no pressure to, bat time. So he took his time. And it goes on to show that, whichever format he's playing, he can play according to that format. This inning needed him to bat like this in the first half. He did that. And in the second half, he did accelerate it. So, it goes on to show he's a modern master in my mind. He plays according to the situation. When he plays T20, he bats according to that. When he plays one day, he paces the innings accordingly. He's a chase master. But in a test match also, if you need to bat time, if he needs to grind it out, he can do that. It's like I said, it's an absolute learning for any youngster watching. You can have all the shots that you want, but you need to respect the condition. You need to respect the kind of game that is going on, and he batted absolutely according to that. India could have easily lost wickets going, for quick runs, and Australia would have got the upper hand. Virat Kohli didn't let them do that.
Yeah, it's a fabulous innings. It's going to be one that'll be remembered for a long time. We'd love to hear Kohli's thoughts on his own innings. I'm sure we'll get as the day goes on. Let's just review the entire day's action, though. It's a tough day to be critical of bowlers when you see a pitch that's not doing a lot, it's not giving a lot of assistance steady. But if you have to make an assessment of how Australia bowled, did they miss tricks? Did they not use Mitchell Stark enough? Nathan Lyon's bowled more than he ever has for Australia, poor old Nathan Lyon. But just as you did the Australian bowling effort, did they miss anything at all?
Oh, yeah, like you said, it is tough. We spoke about this yesterday, and obviously the quick bowlers, their economy rates are going to be a bit higher on a wicket like this. It was the same for India, but I suppose you're missing Cummins or a Hazelwood that can just hit the top of the stumps at reasonable pace all day long. I think that's obvious, and there's reasons for that. Obviously, there's not a lot Australia can do about that. So that's the only thing I would say that obviously you throw one of those guys in. Like a Shami, the way he bowls. I mean, even tonight, he turned up in his first over. He hasn't bowled for a couple of days, and his first ball was absolutely on the money, perfect. So the quality of someone like him, maybe as a fast bowler to help out. But then again, how much difference would have that made anyway?
Yeah. The penetration aspect, though, Teddy, India did have moments where they struck twice or three times quickly in a period of play. Australia never got the back-to-back wickets until the end of the day. Now, was that down to a pitch that was getting easier? Was it down to India batting well? Or do you think somewhere, if Australia would have managed to get even 2 or 3 in a row, that could have just changed the momentum? Every partnership was 50 plus for the first 6 wickets.
Yeah, and I think there was a time yesterday I just felt, and Steve Smith's captaincy has been really good the last period when he's taken over. So there's no criticism of him, but I just felt yesterday with the spinners, there could have been a little bit more, I would say, bravery maybe with the Australians, just keeping the field up a bit more, asking the Indians to go over the top a little bit more maybe. So I think that's, not really looking to the fast bowlers as much in these conditions, but certainly just a bit more proactiveness. And he did shuffle the field around. He did try a lot of different things. I think just leaving that field up a bit more rather than having guys out all the time and just trying to take wickets basically, because that's all you need in these conditions is wickets, So there's only so long you can hold the runs down. We saw Kohli. There's only so long you can keep a guy like him down. He's going to score runs eventually.
All right. Well, the supporting cast did put their hand up. Wasim, Bharat came in surprisingly ahead of Akshar Patel. We knew Shreyas Iyer had a back niggle, but scoring 44, Akshar Patel's just been in the batting form of his life. Such an improved batter, even though he's had little to do with the ball. The supporting cast played its part. At any point, if India would have lost 2 or 3 wickets, maybe momentum would have changed. But those were 2 important innings as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Akshar Patel has been brilliant in the last 2 test matches or 3 test matches. I was surprised, like I said many times, he batted so low in the last test where India lost. And again, he showed his class with the bat. He's not in the best form, or he probably hasn't bowled as much, which he did when Ravindra Jadeja was injured, but he's making the most of it with his batting. His batting has improved leaps and bounds. And again, that 75 today, and then Shrikar Bharat also, he must have been under pressure, hasn't scored runs, and I thought he played his part as well. So India needed somebody like him, even though, if Shreyas Iyer would have been fit, it would have been great, because if he's been batting well, India would have scored a little quicker, and Kohli might have got double 100 as well. But saying that, Shrikar Bharat and Akshar Patel, played beautifully, especially Akshar Patel.
Yeah, I think if we look at the scorecard, Wasim, after this test where one team's got 480, one team's got 570 or 44 from Bharat may not stand out. But looking at where the conversation is on Bharat, India play a one-off test in the World Test Championship. Had he not got runs on a flat surface like this, there could have been questions on whether India would maybe give Ishan Kishan a punt or try KL Rahul as a keeper. You think personally for Bharat, getting a score today extends his opportunities at least?
I think so. I think I probably thought Ishan Kishan might have played this test match. So I'm happy for Shekhar Bharat that he played and he got 44 as well. At least something. Had he not scored runs, he probably would not get another opportunity. So I think he still puts his case forward for playing for India again. Otherwise, India would probably think or probably get tempted to play Ishan Kishan, another dynamic player, pretty much like Rishabh Pant, not in the same class, but somebody who plays his shots, and you are tempted to play him. So feel happy for him that he got an opportunity and he did contribute, at least something.
All right, we move on to the last part of the day. After being in the field for 179 overs as the number 11, Shaun Tait, were you ever asked to open the batting?
Funnily enough, no. A very good reason for that as well. But that was quite interesting as well. I think obviously it ended up okay, but I was surprised to see him come out. I mean, I think everyone was. Who knows what Khawaja's do? I think he'll be okay. Well, I don't know, but my guess is he'll bat tomorrow at some stage in the order. But yeah, a big surprise. But look, it paid off. Who knows how long he's going to last tomorrow? I think there's going to be some short stuff probably aimed at him tomorrow, I would think. But it's sort of all part of the puzzle of a pretty good test match, what we're watching, I think.
Would you have advocated that though? Would you have just said, yeah, okay, if Khwaja's got a bit of a niggle, Labuschagne just goes up, everyone just bats higher, given we don't usually see night watchmen come in as opening batters? Would you have advocated that?
No, I would have put a batsman up there, I think. It was interesting watching the South Africa West Indies series. South African coach has got a very standard rule: no night watchman. So that's interesting. But yeah, I would have put a batsman up for sure, considering the what's at stake tomorrow for this test match. Yeah.
Yeah, we have two international coaches here. Shaun Tait's just had his stint with Pakistan. Wasim Jaffer's got that proud BCB crest on him as well. Wasim, if you had to make an input here as an opening batter yourself and now a coach, would you have liked to see a batter come out? It's pretty moot now.
Well, I mean, if you're facing only a couple of overs, then I don't mind saving an opener. But if you're facing 6, 7 overs like today, then you would have been tempted to send an opener because there's a good chance that Kuhneman can get out and eventually the batter will go out. So, even though he survived, but I think it makes sense if it's more than 2 overs or something, then, for the batsman to go out.
All right. Now, we thought we'll see this surface break up or start playing some tricks as the test got deeper. Until day 4, it looks like it's still great to bat. Are we likely to see a result? Are we likely to see a collapse, Shaun Tait, from what you've seen of this surface?
I just think I'm thinking about that myself in the last half an hour watching. I think it's very possible. The Australians have got to be fatigued. Surely it's been a long test match. I know that sounds weird. You know what I mean when I say that. A lot of time in the field, they've just come off, Khawaja and some, might have a niggle. And I think, you would say that a draw is on the cards, but unfortunately, I can see it going the other way as well.
Wasim, do you foresee a collapse on day 5?
I think so. I think, India will put a squeeze on tomorrow. And if they lose 1 or 2 wickets quickly, then India might be all over him with the crowd coming in as well. So Australia might feel that pressure. I think Steve Smith and Labuschagne, I think they'll be very crucial for Australia. If they bat time, then there's a possibility. But otherwise, if they lose those 2 guys and Khawaja is unfit or maybe not coming in quickly, then you might feel Australia will feel that pressure.
Okay, I'm going to ask Shaun Tait this question. We won't have him on tomorrow, but we'll have him going forward on our network. Whether he prefers as a viewer, not as a player, to watch this kind of test cricket, the old school attritional kind where 2 teams bat for their first innings for 4 days, or did he prefer Indore or Delhi where it's spun and it ended in 3 days? Steady?
Again, I was just towards the end of the day's play today, I was thinking the exact same thing. I had a feeling that you were going to ask something like this, and I still don't know, but I think it's almost both. I know I don't want to sit in the fence too much and not make a choice, but I thought the turning tracks were great to watch. And we all said, maybe test cricket going into a 4th day is probably better, or certainly a 3rd day. At the same time, I'm really enjoying this as well. So I think what I would say is that this is refreshing after what we've seen in the first 3 test matches. It's actually refreshing to have a
Let me
flat
ask the
wicket. Yeah.
Let me ask the batter, but I want him to be the viewer here, Wasim Jaffer. Then the batter. I know which pitch the batter would rather have or which test he'd have. But what's your preference, just from a viewing standpoint?
I would say a little bit more help for the bowlers from day three onwards. Yeah, this pitch got a little bit more favorable towards the batsman. India batted once and Australia batted once. And it's nearly day four has finished. So it only can happen if Australia will collapse tomorrow. Otherwise, it's going to be a draw. So I would prefer a little bit more help and both teams bat twice and get a result. I think probably 350, 400 kind of a total on the first inning would have been more interesting watching as a spectator. 480, 500, I feel sometimes can get a little bit boring.
All right, we'll allow this surface one more day to give us something, and then we'll reassess it. Wasim Jaffer will be with us at the end of this series in Chapel as well. Shaun, big pleasure as always to have you on our network. We'll see you again soon for the ODIs. But many thanks to you as well. Right, that's where we wrap it up. India, the only team that can win this. A draw seems likelier on the cards. Keep an eye out on what's happening in New Zealand. That'll be a fascinating end to that Test match too, to see if Sri Lanka can keep the World Test Championship race interesting. We'll be back with analysis to wrap up the Test and the series tomorrow. So join us then on ESPN Cricket for Match Day.